Hi, so my name is Antonio Permuy. I am a curator and legacy consultant, very active in the arts, and I'm here today on the Centennial Flag Raising Celebration in City Hall, Coral Gables City Hall, and I wanted to speak a little bit to use this occasion and mark the history of 100 years in Coral Gables to really spotlight a couple specific historic landmarks in the city that I have a personal connection to. The first being 1544 Sopera Avenue, which is better known as the Permuy House. Very special to me because this was somewhere I grew up in. It was my grandmother's residence, Marta Permuy, and she was a pioneering figure in not only Coral Gables, but broader South Florida and the history of Cuban art and Latin American art in the United States. She was one of the people who helped bring and establish Cuban art in the U.S., especially in South Florida. And her residence was a place that hosted many culturally significant gatherings and events. She hosted private exhibitions there. She also hosted talks of artists, including Emilio Falero. And she also would provide the space. As an art patron, she tried to help the arts and artists in particular in as many ways as she could from the heart. And one of the needs, of course, that has always been the case with artists is not only sales, but having spaces to create art. Many lacked studio space, so she would open her home, the Permuy House, to artists. So many artists used that space either because the places that they lived in would not allow painting, such as government housing or medical facilities for those who had health issues, and there were rules against being able to paint there. So many would go to my grandmother's home to paint, and she would open spaces for them to use anytime they needed to. Other artists couldn't afford to buy studio space, and they knew they could rely on her to create new work as well, which she would then also exhibit and sell to her network. And she also helped artists by giving all the proceeds to the artist without collecting any commission for herself, so that this would help sustain a true arts community in Coral Gables and beyond, but always from the base of Coral Gables. Our family has been in Coral Gables for 3 generations. And another site I wanted to speak to the history of was 1901 Lejeune Road. This site was also special because it was the site of my grandmother's gallery, Permuy Gallery, which was one of the first Cuban art galleries in the United States. Again, another landmark site. Both were made landmarks after the 2020s, and both properties had their permitting done in 1925, 100 years ago, and were built in 1926. So they are also tied to the centennial of Coral Gables. The Lejeune property, 1901 Lejeune Road, was significant on several levels. It was an apartment and remains an apartment building. So on the first floor, on the left-hand unit, was the home and residence of pioneering Cuban artist Miguel Jorge. He lived there for many years and created many of his signature works in the property when he lived there. Additionally, my grandmother was an early patron of the famed Cuban artist Juan Gonzalez. And the unit to the right on the first floor, across from Miguel Jorge's space, is the unit that she had rented and secured for artist Juan Gonzalez to serve as his first studio space, where he created several key works and where he also hosted the curator for the Whitney Museum. And it was there after that meeting that he was essentially discovered, and then Juan Gonzalez shortly afterwards ended up relocating to New York City, where he became greatly famous and successful there, and would become connected to the likes of Andy Warhol and Salvador Dali and other major figures, and was represented by Alan Stone and then Nancy Hoffman Gallery. The origins of these things began in that building, 1901 Lejeune Road, when he had to relocate to New York. Once again, my grandmother stepped in because he was not able to fulfill the rest of his lease to relocate so quickly, and my grandparents offered to help him with that. And then that space was then converted after Juan Gonzalez relocated. The space of his studio became Permuy Gallery, which is one of the first, as I said, one of the first Cuban art galleries in the United States. So the historical, cultural, and artistic roots of that building are significant and far-reaching. Many major early pioneering Cuban art events happened in Permuy Gallery during its 5-year run, and many major artists, both famous and emerging, had exhibitions there. Juan Gonzalez, of course, maintained a relationship there and exhibited there many times in collective exhibitions, as well as the Grupo Gala, the first Latin American artist association in the Southeast United States. as well as figures including Emilio Falero, who had his first solo exhibition in a gallery at Permuy Gallery on that site. So long, far-reaching history with several artists, several major historical, cultural figures, and I just wanted to honor both of these landmarks and the role that they have played. That our family, the Permuy family, has been honored to participate in, and I offer up these details in memory of my grandmother Marta, so that her role in Coral Gables history is recorded and remembered and honored. So I do this with great love and care in her memory. Thank you very much.